Good evening. Today is August 31st, 2020, and this is the 14th episode of New Paradigms. I'm your host, Sangari, the Republican nominee for U.S. Congress in the 9th Congressional District of Illinois. My guest today is Theresa Raborn. She is the Republican nominee for Congress in the 2nd Congressional District of Illinois. Theresa was born and raised in Bradley and Bourbonnais in Kankakee County. Her parents divorced at an early age when she was 18 months old. She was raised by a single mother, but that was only until her stepdad entered her picture and at 7 years old. She has 5 older brothers, 4 of whom have served in the United States military, 1 in the Navy, and 4 in the Air Force. She completed training at 2 trade schools, obtained her bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Governor State University, and has completed a year of law school. Theresa's professional experience includes working as a medical claims processor, as a review coordinator and manager, and also as an entrepreneur and as a homeschooling mom. Theresa identifies herself as a defender of the religious freedom of speech, the Second Amendment itself, and stands for family values. She is a constitutional conservative. She is pro-life, pro-law enforcement and military, and believes in limited government. Theresa believes that the right solution is always to put people first. Theresa, it's good to have you here, but before we begin, I would like our viewers to get to know you a little bit better with a short video that we're going to present about you.
As our nation experiences the biggest economic boom of my lifetime, the 2nd District is being left behind. We have the highest property taxes in all of Cook County, a shortage of high-paying jobs, an epidemic of school closings targeting our minority communities, and a crisis of violence in our streets. The nation is watching as the south side of Chicago and the south suburbs are being decimated by violence. Our leaders are ignoring the problems, failing our families and our children. We deserve better. Our children deserve better. They are the reason I am running for Congress. Unlike politicians who make vague promises, I provide you with my detailed solutions to the challenges our district and our nation face. I have over 30 bills and solutions on my website, rabornforcongress.com. Those solutions include rehabilitating criminals to eliminate the revolving door of our criminal justice system, bringing justice to our injustice system, providing our children with individualized, high-quality education with no cracks for our children to slip through, flooding our district with entirely new sectors of industry and high-paying jobs, and fighting corruption at all levels, regardless of the political party involved, and so much more. I invite you to take a look at the solutions on my website and encourage you to give me feedback so we can make those solutions even better. Career politicians have proven to be inept at solving problems. It's time to fire those elitist career politicians and elect a problem-solving, solutions-oriented citizen legislator from a military family to fight for you. We, the people, can take our district and our country back, and we can solve these challenges together. I'm Theresa Raborn, and I am the right solution to put people first in Illinois' 2nd Congressional District. So join my campaign today at rabornforcongress.com. Together, we can face these challenges and build a brighter future for our children.
Theresa, it's good to have you here. As you said, you are the right solution for the 2nd District. I wanted to have you here today because of your expertise, first of all, in the medical profession, and also because me and you have stood together on policing issues in the past. With that said, though, before we begin, tell us a little bit about your district, Theresa. What is the layout of it, and what are some of the demographics we need to be aware of?
It's really great to finally be on your show. We've seen each other at a lot of these rallies, and I've had a great time talking with you, and I'm glad I'm getting a chance to talk to you here. The 2nd District includes all of Kankakee County, the eastern part of Will County east of 57, so between 57 and the Indiana state line. And then in Cook County, it's, again, east of 57 to the state line, all the way up until you get where 57 merges into the Dan Ryan, and then it kind of skips over, and it's between Stony Island and the lake. And it goes all the way up to Jackson Park, and that's the very northern tip of the district. So I do
Uh,
have farmers and urban area all the way through. I have every type of area in the district.
No, I know yours is a little bit more diverse, and a lot of times, when you're going from rural areas to the build-up areas, it gives you different challenges because you're looking at various different issues when it comes to economics that you have to deal with. But I know that one of the issues that we both have to deal with, regardless, is the security issue, and I know that what happens on South Side Chicago does weigh heavily on us specifically also because Chicago, majority of it sits on the south side. And I know that we had, again, police shootings that took place, as far as I should say, police being shot this weekend. And in Chicago, we had 55 shot, 10 fatally in the Chicago weekend violence. I know that you and me had gone together to the south side before and had done a joint conference on this. What are some of the solutions that you see, Theresa? Because it doesn't seem like this is stopping. It's getting worse and worse every weekend.
Well, especially in the second district, which has most of the south suburbs and the southeastern part of Chicago, where we're seeing a lot of this crime. It's really because this district has been decimated in recent decades from Democrat leadership, which has led to us losing a lot of our high-paying jobs, and factories have left the area, and we haven't had replacements of those. And education has gone downhill, income has gone downhill, everything has been suffering, while the rest of the country is moving forward and has moved forward into the 21st century. The second district is getting left behind more and more each year. And that's when you're having problems with finances, it's very easy to turn to a life of crime. And that's what we see is a lot of gang violence.
No, look, people talk about policing with me all the time, and I have proposed ideas on the policing issue, but it cannot be just a standalone itself. You have to be able to address those issues. On my personal platform, we have economic development, healthcare, and also security. Vital, really. These are kind of three lines of effort that even in my own business I have, which I looked at governance, development, and security. So it doesn't change regardless of what position you're in or how you're kind of dealing with the outlook. And it is unfortunate. It is what it is. And I don't think we're going to get to a final solution until we are able to at least address these. And I hope to address the policing issue once I get into Congress. But also one other piece today is, go ahead, Theresa.
Same here with addressing the policing issue. I think that when we have safe streets, high-paying jobs, and quality education, most of the other societal ills will just fall apart. But we have to make sure that we're backing our police because we need them. We need them now more than ever.
No, we do, and it's not going to get any better. I don't like to get into the details of it because it seems like sometimes you're just talking to the walls. But I've said Congress has to work at a national standard if you want for the use of force. And when I'm in Congress, as I have said, this is going to be a priority for me. Given it has not been in the past. If it was in the past, Theresa, we wouldn't be where we are today. We are today because nobody addressed it. And I know that it's Washington, but I cannot imagine how any reasonable person will even argue against trying to come up with a solution for it. So when it comes to the system of system approaches, we have to understand that the policing requires the specific tools are appropriate to a particular environment, and that it's usually dedicated by the terrain and the situation. The same thing as you're dealing with in your district right now. So this is where we have to look at reasonable standards and how should be applicable to justify even the transfer of the tools that we're looking at or methods that we're going to be using to protect the public safety and health specifically. And then, these tools can be defensive in nature if people are pushing for it or assist departments to safely and effectively execute their duties. Technology, even the medical side, have allowed us advances that gives us those flexibilities. But when it comes to policing, a separate commission is really needed to evaluate those requests and to ensure that we meet the legal compliances and are based on case by case study. So. But I don't really want to talk in the details as far as policing because I wanted to kind of look at what's happening today when it comes to specifically why we're here. And I do know that today is also the International Day of Recognition for Overdose. I know that you have had a personal story with a friend of yours, Theresa. If you could tell us how these drug issues are now affecting our country in detail on some of the experiences that you have seen from your personal perspective.
Yes, I've had two people that I know a little bit. It's more so that they're people that are connected to me through a common person. One person overdosed and died, and the other one overdosed. They were able to bring that one back and get him into a long-term treatment facility, and he's now sober and clean for over a year and a half. And I think treatment is the only answer. The vast majority of the people that I know of who have had drug problems, they're good, decent, loving people when they're not using. And we need to remember that they're not expendable. We need to save them and get them the help that they want or that they need. But the thing is, it often comes down to money, because these long-term treatment centers that are the most effective cost a lot of money, and we need to help with that.
No, it does come down to money, and it's unfortunate, and I have said multiple times that, there's foreign interest that is tied to this too. So there's a lot of drugs that are coming through our southern borders, synthetic drugs that are actually out there, being used by individuals who are adversaries to us. And as much as they could keep our children on drugs and ensure that, we're really killing ourselves internally becomes an issue. But I think working hard, going after some restrictions with the drug companies may get us to where we need to be. And then, of course, law enforcement. But the biggest piece is, it's hard because I've known individuals whose sons and daughters have died because they turn into using these type of drugs because it doesn't leave a mark on you. So parents don't know if you're using the drugs or not. But because they're really made cheaply by individuals who could care less who the end user is, who's taking them, they have caused a lot of deaths in our nation, and those deaths will continue to rise as you see the statistical information that we showed you all. But all this stuff is, again, still tied to our healthcare issues and problems. And I wanted to kind of talk to you, Theresa, because, for me, in my district, the people in my district like the Affordable Care Act, and they have told me ever since I was in the campaign trail. Now, I did not agree with the Affordable Care Act. I would have never gone through the process of executing it or even coming up with it because it was an expansion of government reach that shouldn't have been there. I just didn't think it answered the question as to trying to get out there, or the issue or the topic of covering individuals who did not have coverage. I think it actually burdened them more. However, with that said, I have to represent the individuals within my district. And I do know that we have talked before, and from your perspective, you have a different approach to it. You still want to look at repealing it and replacing it. And we're going to talk about the program or the bill that you are going to be proposing when you get into Congress. But where did we come to this discussion? How did we get here? I want you to kind of get your perspective on it, and then we can continue discussing it a little bit more.
Well, I think a lot of it started with World War II. They had the Payment or Stabilization Act during World War II because inflation was skyrocketing through the roof, and employers were trying to lure more women out of the home and into the workforce to help with the war effort. And to do so, they were trying to increase wages. And so Congress had to act, and it was a temporary thing, but it really put the employers on their heels for a few minutes. And they started offering fringe benefits in lieu of the additional salaries. So one of those was employer-sponsored healthcare. And once you give a benefit, it's really hard to take it away. And next thing you know,
Yep.
it spread like wildfire. And now almost every employer offers some form of medical benefits to their employees. The problem with that is nobody is thinking about the cost. I've been covered by employers for most of my adult life, and either I was on my own plan or on my husband's. And the only thing I ever thought about was my copay. That was it. How much do I pay when I go to the doctor? And I've found out in recent years that one of the pediatricians that my children went to was charging $300 or $400 for an office visit. And I never knew it the whole time. And that's a little outrageous. I mean, I understand doctors need to get paid, but to be in there for 10 minutes, $300 is a lot of money. And so that's what we're running into, is nobody's paying attention to the cost, and it just keeps going up and up and up, and then the premiums go up. And a couple years ago, my husband left the federal government and went into the private sector. And we went from $400 a month is what our family plan was costing us to about $1,400 a month is what it would cost with the new employer. And that's $1,000 more being taken out of his paycheck. So that was huge. We ended up looking into the ACA, and by the time we figured everything out, even with subsidy, we would have to pay between premiums and the deductible. We'd have to pay about $20,000 a year before it would kick in and pay anything. And since my family isn't that sick that often, we're pretty healthy, it would be paying all that money and not having any coverage because we'd be paying out of pocket. We would never meet that deductible. So it was almost like something,
you know. Yeah. So when you're on the lower end, as we discussed before, it's really, you don't want to push to the higher end when it comes on the economic platform, because it kind of allows you to sustain yourself and be covered at the lower cost. But the problem is, you talk about my district where you have, individuals are making a lot of money, and individuals also that are very below that middle class level, which puts them in the category where they like it, because the guy who's paying enough money doesn't have an issue. He could go throw dollars at it, and the one who's below the minimum, below the middle class, likes it because it covers it. The problem is it squeezes that middle class. As far as the perspective I've said, if you can fix some issues with it, I would. But I think, I wanted to make sure that individuals saw your proposals specifically on it.
Right. And not only does it squeeze that middle class, but I've talked to a lot of providers that have just flat out gone out of business, that are pulling out of the exchanges. And it's getting to the point to where it's a monopoly. And as we know, when there's a monopoly on something, the costs are never controlled. It's out of control at that point. And I think we've reached that point where either you're rich and you can afford it, or you're going to need the subsidy. And if you're at the lower end of the economic bracket, then you can get it for free. But as soon as you start working your way out of that, that's when you're going to get slammed. And it's actually an incentive for people to not try and get out of poverty, because you make an extra $10,000, but it's all going to go to your healthcare and then some. So what's the point of even trying? And I think that's really sad, that we should be encouraging people to try and improve their economic situation, not put more barriers and hindrances in their way.
We should be. And as most people know, it's not a party issue here. You see, we're from the same party where we have problems, because my constituents are expecting me to kind of keep those for them. And, your constituents are different because you're just laid out differently as far as your congressional district is concerned. So with that said, what's the proposal that you have, Theresa? Let's take a look at it. I know we have some slides that you brought with you, and I know they're on your website, but let's go take a look at those slides. If you could talk through the plan for us.
Sure. It's called the Freedom Health Plan. And it's really based on freedom and more choices and less costs and having better care. When you have more choices, you're eventually going to have better care. It gets it out of the monopoly system. And if we go on to the next one, a lot of people, the next slide, most people have their health coverage through their employer, about 50%. And that's split between the employee and the employer. So if you have $500 coming out of your paycheck through payroll deductions, your employer's probably paying about another $1,000 a month for your premium. So what we do is we separate the healthcare from your employment so that you can go from between jobs and you don't have to worry about your health insurance. It would be attached to you, not your job. Now, when we do this, the major difference between My Freedom Health Bill and Medicare for All is that Medicare for All allows the business to keep all of their healthcare savings. But under the Freedom Health Plan, I require that employers funnel 80% back to their employees through higher wages and salaries. So this would actually be about an average of $900 every month back in the wallets of our hardworking American workers. And the next slide. Okay, and then you would be getting your own insurance. And this, we could actually do this through healthcare.gov. It would be information only. You would have major medical plans that handle the big ticket items, but those policies are very inexpensive. And then you would have health savings accounts for office visits, labs, x-rays, and everything else, prescriptions. And that you can contribute as little or as much as you want. Now remember, if you're getting that extra $900 a month, you pay a little bit towards your major medical, and then you still have money for your health savings account, or you could pocket that extra money and maybe use part of your income tax return to fund your health savings account for the year. But this is all up to you. It's your choices. And the next slide, the health savings accounts would be far expanded to things that are not normally covered under insurance right now, as you can see from that graph. And the next slide, the key point of this is that we also give you a healthcare blue book. It's very much like the Kelly Blue Book for automobiles, except for healthcare. So you can compare costs of different providers in your area, and you can choose any provider, not just a predetermined list that you get from your insurance company, but any provider in your area that meets your needs, but at the lowest possible cost. And this will bring the free market system into our healthcare system and drive costs down. It won't go down too low. It'll bring it to a market sustainable level. Next slide. And it also helps with the Medicaid, because about 25% of people have Medicaid, and this is for low-income individuals and families. And we would still provide that, but we would, instead of it being a service provider, it'd be a funds provider. And I have some information here on that. Now, this would actually remove any chance for discrimination based on being a Medicaid recipient, which is something people should not be discriminated at the doctor's office because they're struggling financially. And this actually provides them the same choices that the workers would get. You get to go to any provider, so you're getting more choices and better care. But with what I'm showing on this graphic, we would be saving over $290 billion a year just on this. And we can always debate that, Sarah, just when we get to Congress, we can debate the finer points of this and see where we want to land with that. So the minimum and the average can definitely be debated. Next slide. There are some people that actually have really high cost medical care, and we would have a special circumstance Medicaid for those people, and it wouldn't be based on income. And I explained that, and that would be paid out of some of that savings from the regular Medicaid. Next slide. And for our seniors, it would stay pretty much exactly the same. The ones on Medicare right now would not have anything change at all. It would only change for people going on in the future, but it is set up to where it would actually start operating with a surplus in Medicare, which will save Medicare instead of us running out of Medicare Part A funds within the next 6 years is when it's due to run out of money. And this would save it and save it for the next 100 years. And then the next slide, it just recaps some of the benefits. And you can look through those. The details are on my website, rabornforcongress.com. This gives you a lot more individual control and more choices, lower costs for everyone. It prevents discrimination, it saves Medicare, and it's streamlined. You literally can have the same major medical plan your entire life and the same HSA account. You get to choose when you want to change it or if you want to keep it for the rest of your life. And the pre-existing, it becomes a non-issue, mainly because of the health savings account. But with the major medical plan, it's covered. But one of the great things is it's no longer a life sentence, and I do explain that in much more detail in the plan. And the last slide gives you the link and the actual part of my website at rabornforcongress.com, Freedom Health Plan Bill. So that pretty much wraps it up in a brief summary, but it's about 12 pages in a Word document. So once we put that into a bill, you're looking at probably about 50 pages because it's double spaced and all that. Now, I don't know how you feel, Sargis, but that 20,000 page ACA is kind of lengthy and it's not interesting reading. It's kind of boring. I would much rather have a 50-page bill to read. And what do you think?
Well, that's what happens when you send lawyers to Washington. So, even the POTUS said we have plenty of lawyers. Each word is debated. But it's funny because congressional lawyers look at things differently than the Department of State lawyers and the Department of Defense lawyers. So you always have these friction points as you lay these things on top of each other. So no, look, the more simpler a bill is, the better it is. For me, if the constituents in my district said, we want you to completely get rid of the ACA, I would say, okay, the constituents want. They have a different perspective on it than my district. Now, what I could do is, this is where we sit down and have that debate, right? We have 435 members in Congress to be able to take your plan and kind of see whether or not we could put it on top of that ACA and see where those friction points might be. Is there something that could alleviate some of those friction points? If we could do it, great. If we can't do it, maybe we need to remove some of the things out of the ACA and see how maybe we could incorporate and streamline it. Maybe this would be a plan that could help to streamline it. But those are the discussions that would have to be done on the House floor when we both get there. And hopefully in the 170 Congress, I think what you're proposing has an ability to make it out of a committee. But again, it goes back to how Washington does business. If we end up getting into Congress and Congress is under a Democratic control, your plan is probably not going to go anywhere. If we go into Congress and is under the Republican control, depending on the committee you sit on, maybe we can get somewhere. So it's maddening somewhat, but it is just a part of a process, and we have to try our best to kind of negotiate these eaches. As they say, to me, the simpler the plan is, I think the much better it is for people to digest it. I think you did a wonderful job as far as laying out how you're seeing it from that vision perspective. Go ahead.
Well, one of the things for me is, even though I do have a college degree, there's still a lot of people. The vast majority of Americans do not have college degrees. And sadly, a lot of our laws are written to where even people with college degrees have a hard time understanding what the law says. And that's not the way it's supposed to be. We shouldn't overcomplicate our bills and our laws to the point to where nobody understands what it is. It should be simple, streamlined, and easy for anyone to understand and be able to go pull it up and in an hour or two be able to read through the bill. And that's why I want it simplified and streamlined, so that it's not just you and me and the rest of the members of Congress that understand what it says, but the people also understand what it says.
Don't be surprised. Most people in Congress don't understand what they're reading. So we try to give them some credit, but trust me, I've sat with some of those members who will be my colleagues in the future. I'm sure they're probably going to start hammering me on because I said this on my show, but it's a reality. The more simpler it is and is written for a general group of Americans, the better it is for us. Teresa, before we go, is there anything that we missed in our discussion? Is there anything else you want to kind of emphasize on? Let me know, and if not, tell us where people can find out about you and read more about you and what you're proposing for Congress.
Oh, well, I really love that you're with the Assyrians for Trump, and I really back them and their support of our president. We really need someone who can be, well, he backs the blue, and we really need that, like we were talking earlier, and we need someone who's committed to pushing solutions. And I don't know about you, but it's been a while since we've had people in Congress actually looking for solutions. They've been arguing about the same things today that they were when I turned 18, and that was a couple of decades ago. But as far as I'm very happy to have had this chance to be here to talk with you. And anyone can check out this plan, the Freedom Health Bill, or any other bill on my website at rabornforcongress.com. And if they want to donate, that would be great. Most of us really are looking for donations and help. Most of us aren't getting so much help from the party.
So I'm going to ask. I've asked everybody. It seems like has the Illinois GOP or the RNC provided any money for your run at all, Teresa?
No, not only have I not received that help, I thought it was me, and so I decided to do a little digging, and I looked to see what kind of help all of us running at the federal level here in Illinois are getting, and only one candidate got some money from the RNC, and one candidate got money from the NRCC, and that's it. No one has gotten any money from the Illinois GOP. So I'm not sure why that is. Not sure what's going on there.
Well, look, reality is for a lot of candidates who are running, they got to do it out of pocket. That's just the way it is. I mean, in my district, I'm going against a person incumbent who has 2.6 million in their coffers, and then that could go up to 5 million plus, and so and so. But this is what happens when you're dealing with it. But it's not always about the money, right? It's a matter of people knowing who you are, the bills you have proposed, and what we could do for you in the future. And as you said, and I will say this again, as I always do at the end of my broadcast, because I know that my manager always is angry at me. I was at a gathering yesterday after he told me multiple times, ask for money, ask for money. Of course, what did I do? I did not ask for money. So if you can, Teresa and I are less than, I think we're less than 70 days right now, Teresa, to go before the election. So we need your money, we need your support, we need your donation. From me, go to www.votesangari.com, www.votesangari.com, and donate, please, if you can. And for Teresa, again, Teresa, where do they go to donate for you as far as funding is concerned?
Well, there's actually two places. My website, rabornforcongress.com, and then there's a donate tab. And I'm also on WinRed. Are you on WinRed?
Okay. Not yet. We're registering today, yes.
WinRed is actually a really wonderful site where if you want to donate to multiple candidates on the Republican ticket, you can go there and you can donate to all of them in one place instead of having to go to each candidate's website. So I love that. And I am on WinRed.
And I'm glad you brought it up, because that's how revenue sharing does, and that takes care of some billboards and at least yard signs for us. But much appreciated, Teresa. God bless. Keep on doing what you're doing, and we'll have you back here again. And thank you for supporting not just me, but also Assyrians for Trump. And we'll see you at the next Back to Blue rally.
Yes, thank you. And I will see you at the next Back to Blue.
Outstanding. This is New Paradigms, and we'll see you later.
See ya.